Today on the MyOutDesk podcast, we're joined by Tabrion Leverette, an award winning real estate professional, accredited investor, and master franchise owner based in Las Vegas. Tabrion brings a powerful mix of strategy, leadership, and purpose. As we celebrate Juneteenth, we're honored to highlight voices like his that represent Black excellence and empowerment. Tabrion, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my
I'm
honor.
so excited to just learn more about you and your story. Why real estate?
It's a great question. I mean, for me, one of the biggest reasons that, I ended up getting into real estate was because, that was ultimately the dream is to own as much as I can for myself and my family. Um, that's basically where it started is to own as much as I can. I mean, I always saw my grandparents and my parents and my relatives, they were always, renting from somebody else and paying their mortgage and providing the lifestyle that those people wanted, and they never did it for themselves. And, when I looked at it, I'm like, man, every year they're raising their rent. Every year, the mortgage is staying the same, but these people are making more and more money. And, it really started with my grandparents because I started to see, because they're a lot older, like, man, they live in this house for 20 years. So they basically have already paid, this person's mortgage off. So for me, I wanted to be in a situation where I can do that for my family. And, the legacy part of it was really important. The part that, you have assets and you have things where you can pass down to people that you care about. So I just wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. And once I started to learn that anybody can do it, I definitely wanted that anybody to be me.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Now, before we started, you mentioned growing up in Los Angeles. What was life like in Los Angeles for a young Black boy?
Yeah, it's a great question. You only know what you know. And for me, growing up in Los Angeles, it was a lot of fun. It was for me, it wasn't a lot of diversity. When I went to junior high and when I went to elementary and before I went to high school, the people that are around were all minorities. It was people that looked like me, and it was Hispanic, and the cultures were similar but different. But ultimately, none of us had the things that we really aspire for. I remember, things like going to different grocery stores and shopping milk at this price and then shopping corn at this price and doing those type of things. And for myself, we played sports to stay out the streets. That was really important, to get that discipline. So we did play sports and tried to stay active that way, but it was always knowing that to be frank, it's kind of like knowing that you're in danger at all times, whether it's from your peers or whether you feel that you're in danger from, it could be law enforcement, it could be anybody, because you start to be grouped into a category. Being in LA, I'm specifically from Inglewood, California, which is a rougher area, and not having a vast set of knowledge of outside of that area, it really makes you start to look at where you're at. I actually didn't understand that we were the minorities because I never saw white people. I was always seeing like uh, black people and Hispanics. So that was kind of a shocker. And then I ended up going to school outside of the area, and it was very diverse. It was Asians. It was Caucasian. It was even European. It was a whole bunch of different people, and it was a melting pot. And then that was my first taste of the real world. And I'm like, well, if I wanted to be able to expand and do something different, I need to be more diverse. I need to be more cultured. I need to be able to interact with everybody except my own people, because that's just the comfort level. So for me, growing up in Los Angeles, I lost my dad when I was 15, um, and that's really when the change happened for me personally. When he passed, it was sudden. We didn't have life insurance money or anything like that, and I just remember um, my grandparents and everybody else, you know, getting money, pulling money from their account, emptying their accounts to be able to give him a proper burial. And that was a game changer for me at 15. I really made the decision at that particular point that I would change the direction of my family going forward indefinitely. And that I made that my life mission to be able to make sure that a situation like that never happens again where we don't have or that we don't have the knowledge or don't have the information. Information births a transformation. So it's really simple and easy to live in bliss if you don't know better. But once you know better, it's up to you to be able to make a difference. So once I realized that, for me, it was really just trying to figure out what avenue can I take to make sure that myself, my wife, my kids, and their grandkids um, have me on their wall.
I love that. I'm feeling so inspired and empowered right now. And I love that you found other avenues like real estate and now you have this franchise. It's amazing. So, with being such a boss, I'm sure there are some challenges as you started to grow, some bottlenecks. How did you navigate that space as you were building these companies? You can't do everything. What was that feeling like?
It's a great question. So, navigating that space really came down to keeping the faith. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. So that's in the forefront, and making sure that I stay focused on the things that matter and control the controllables. Focus on things that I can control, and not being a victim, but being a victor. A lot of people never get through the test, so they can never tell the testimony. And for me, I wanted to make sure that I'm not only an example to myself, but I have a little brother, and I wanted to be an example to him, and he really drives me. So I wanted to be an example to people that's from where I'm from and came from where I came from. And I wanted to have a complete transition. So a lot of the ways that I got through that is mindset, is determination, and not trying it, but doing it, not not leaving it up to chance, but going out and doing as much as I can and really being a junkie when it comes down to personal development. For me, it was a matter of a couple months where I went from making, $700 a month to start making six figures at 21. And it was mainly because of the personal development. I got a hold of business through obviously college and stuff like that, but it was mainly the first business I was active in was network marketing, and I got around people that were striving to be better, and it really left a good taste in my taste buds. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I want more of. I want to strive for excellence. I want to strive to be the best that I can be. And the way I got around that was being around the right people. I think once you get away from people that can hinder your progress and that can stop you from being where you want to be, and you start to model and mirror yourself after people that are successful and have the lifestyles that you want to live, then you're willing to do what they did to get to what they have, right? So for me, the struggles was just a part of the journey. Um, and once you embrace those struggles, you can overcome those struggles. But if you fray away from it and you're scared to attack the problem, then you will never, get the solution. So for me, the way I overcame some of those obstacles in business and sales and life and real estate was to get around the right people, to have a fixated mindset on growth and personal development, and to control the controllables and keep the faith.
Thank you so much for sharing that. One of the things we like to talk about at MyOutDesk is to help business owners see those challenges and then get them on the other side. So, what were the biggest challenges in your business before working with a MyOutDesk virtual professional?
Yeah. So really simple, just too much on my plate at one time and not being able to focus on the things that were really the high payoff activities, really focusing on the smaller activities that need to be done, but didn't need to be done by me.
Yes.
So for me, a over, it was a sense of being overwhelmed and also then overwhelming my wife because I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Now you got to do this, right? And it was just a lot of different stuff that we didn't necessarily need to be doing. And once I figured out that there's other people that you know, that can do, I can hire out my weaknesses and I can have them do the things that I'm not great at and they actually enjoy to do, right? I've been in sales for a decade plus, and I'm comfortable in doing that. And there's people that don't want to talk to people, or there's people that don't want to do those certain things, but I don't want to do administrative work. And there's certain people that love to do administrative work, and they're like, "Don't talk to me. I ain't picking up no phone. I don't want to talk to you." It is what it is. But for me, once I made that change and I hired my first um, virtual assistant through MyOutDesk, it was a game changer for me, specifically because a lot of the minutia was taken off of my plate, and I could focus on, you know, driving those KPIs and doing the things that I'm the best at.
Absolutely. So, with sticking with that, how was the onboarding process? Training, communication, getting your VA up to speed. What was that like?
Yeah. Overall, the answer to that was it was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal experience. I know the owner personally, so I definitely had a. I wanted to make sure that the experience that I had um, was worth it because he has a big business. He has a lot of people that enjoy the services that they provide. So after looking up that, talking to a couple other people, seeing the reviews, I felt comfortable and confident and getting a virtual assistant because like most people, you're like, I can do this stuff for myself. I don't want to pay anybody else to do it. I can get it done. But I trusted Ramsey enough where I'm like, you know what, let's try this out. And it didn't, he didn't let me down. The crew that I work with, the interview process, the hand holding, and it's not even so much about that part of it. It's about the coaching after, right? Making sure that the virtual assistant knows the process of being a virtual assistant because it's completely different than working in, at a location or being face to face. It's a completely different type of setup, right? And they have to be prepared for that. So the continued support, even for myself. It was like, hey, listen, this is the issues that I'm having. And then I could sit down and talk to people and they're like, well, have you did this? And have you did that? And have you did this? I'm like, actually, I didn't think about none of that. But when they put that in perspective, it was like, you know what? This is what I need to do. I do need to record myself and I need to show them exactly what it is. I can't assume that they know. They're in a different country, different culture, different background. Um, but once I did that, it was smooth sailing from there. So I do appreciate the service, the convenience, and the transparency.
Awesome. So, another question. How has your day to day life changed now that your VA is handling some of those other responsibilities?
Drastically, um, I save a lot of hours in my day from emails to administrative tasks to stuff that I just absolutely don't want to do. So I get a sense of enjoyment that it's not just me working on this task, it's multiple people working on these tasks to help me get to where my goal is. So my VA has been a pivotal part of my continued growth, just because they can take the things off my plate that I don't want to deal with and they can get it done. And a lot of times the stuff that you have to do that can take hours and hours out of your day. But now I have somebody working on that while I'm working on the most important thing. So for me, it allowed me to be more in flow where I can focus on the things that are important to me and the things that I'm the best in the world at in comparison to doing
Yeah.
things that I have no interest in.
I love that. And I can hear that you have so much more peace, which lets me know at one point you didn't. So, can you share maybe a specific example where having a VA specifically improved your workflow or results? Like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I have this VA in place. Can you remember any particular moment in time?
Yeah. Just helping me manage my Airbnbs. That's one thing. A lot of times I had to answer all these messages from people, even though you have automated apps and things like that. It's a lot of personal things that are also involved. And I didn't have to deal with that while I'm, doing a sales call or I'm doing an appointment or I'm doing a high payoff, uh, a key activity. Um, and they were able to manage that type of stuff, whether it's making sure the listings are set up properly or making sure that the repairs, that's another thing. As we get repairs for all these properties, I got to go in, I got to say, hey, this guy's at this price, this guy's at this price. What's the difference in the job? What's their reviews? What's this? Right. And for me, they took all that off my plate, and it made it really convenient to have that extra buffer between me and whoever I'm working with. Just handling my repairs for my real estate rentals, you have to figure out first, you have to look at what the repair is. You have to see who did the repair. Was it our fault or was it the tenant's fault? You know, what's the price of the repair? Even though we have property managers, they're going to upcharge. So it's okay. I'm going to send my own vendor. Which vendor am I going to send? What's the price? What's the quality of the work? What's their reviews? When can they go? Can you schedule and coordinate with the tenant? Doing all that stuff was a big help for me, and that took off a lot off my plate automatically. That's the first thing that come to mind is helping manage those repairs, helping manage the Airbnb process, and reaching out to those guests as they arrive. Even though a lot of stuff is automated, there's a lot of times where there's personal touches that need to be involved. So being able to take around that role once they're properly trained, it was amazing.
Awesome. So we are here because we are celebrating Juneteenth, a day of freedom for Black people. What does Juneteenth mean for you personally and professionally, Tabrion?
Yeah. So as I was saying, when you asked me earlier, we grew up, if they want to call it lower middle class. I don't know if that's even, what we were at that particular point. But, and I started to tell you a story like, hey, we were going from gas station to gas station. Now, this gas station is $2.20. This gas station is $2.19. And then you asked about real estate and why I want to own real estate. Well, Juneteenth basically means to me that I have the opportunity to not have to worry about any of the things that I just mentioned. I have the opportunity, and it's up to me to take advantage of that opportunity, because now we have the opportunity to have continued progress, right? So I went from grandparents and parents not owning any real estate to us having a millions of dollars of real estate that we own. And, we went from having to, shop around in all these different places to save a dollar here or a dollar there to being able to invest millions of dollars every year. So for me, Juneteenth is about cultural resurrection. It's about honoring the people that went through the struggle by not discounting their struggle and not disconnecting from it either. And what I mean by that is just knowing that we are an unbreakable people. And even though, we were bound in chains and helped build this country uh, for free labor, now we have an opportunity to reap the rewards. So what it means for me is it means for me a physical, spiritual, emotional fight for equality. When that began, was probably even before that, but that's what that mark means for me. It means for me that that's when the game started for us to be able to start to get back, what we should have had, start to be able to build from there. Right. So it means for me the first step in the freedom process. It means for me, that's really what it means for me. It means the first step in the freedom process. Obviously, it was a lot of stuff that happened from there, but it just means the first step in the freedom process. And it also means to keep in mind that, sometimes people are going to tell you what they don't want you to know. And without that knowledge, you can't become who you are meant to become. So even with Juneteenth, if they weren't told or notified that they were free, I think it was in Texas, I think that's where it was. If they weren't notified that they were free, then they still would have been enslaved, and nobody was going to give you your freedom. And whatever you tolerate persists. Knowing what your rights are and knowing what belongs to you and knowing that you're not less than, but you are a chosen people and you are and starting to progress for equality is the summary of what that means for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was beautiful. And as a leader and a mentor, how do you feel business professionals, business owners like yourself, can meaningfully promote equity and opportunity for others?
It's a great question. I think that the way that they can do that is they can inspire, encourage, uplift, and the people that they're around. They can be examples of success, and they can show people that if I did it, you can do it as well. I think that they can um, look to help instead of hurt. And instead of trying to change the world, you start with yourself. You change yourself. You change your circle of influence, and then you expand from there. And then if you change and affect enough people by being a servant leader, that can, in reality, start to change the world. So I think that you have to be a leader by yourself. You have to do the best that you can do. And then from there, the people around you will be inspired. They will be able to see like, oh my gosh, I went to school with that guy. Like, that's the same dude. Like, are you kidding me? Right. So I think it really just starts with being open, honest, and just being a good person is the first step, because then from there you can get into philanthropy. You can start getting into, um, charitable. I'm big in charity. You can do stuff like that. Um, so I think that's the answer. But I think it all has to start with you, because if you're not centered and you don't feel like you're living a life of abundance, if you're not in overflow, if you're coming from a place of, lack, if you're coming from a place of, yeah, basically, then you can't give because you don't think you have enough. But once you feel that you are more than enough, then you can give, and you can give freely. So I think that's where it starts. I think the only other thing that I would add is that one other thing that inspired me is I always saw people that didn't look like me. As they got older and their parents and grandparents passed, they all got something from that. Not meaning from their parents passing, but once their parents or grandparents were no longer here, they had trust, they had wills, they had assets, they had things to give. And when I was being brought up, every time I saw somebody pass, they were just taken. I saw the signs on the side of the road. I saw the t-shirts being sold. I saw the car washes. I saw all that stuff to be able to pay for funerals and pay for stuff like that. And I saw the moms and the moms being left out because the dad was the provider. I saw the hurt, the pain, because a lot of times in Black households, money isn't discussed. Finances aren't discussed. Certain things aren't discussed. Especially if you don't have no money, you definitely don't want to talk about it, right? And then
Mhm.
you talk to a different culture or a different group of people, and they talk about that. They have it set up where you're not just going to college because you're getting taught go to college so you can make it out, but they don't even know what making it out means.
Mhm.
Opposed to, hey, listen, this is what our ultimate goal is, and then reverse engineering it. So I saw all these people that, grandma died, grandma left you a house. Auntie died, auntie left you this. You got a boat, you got this and that. And for me, I'm like, you know what? That starts with making the right decisions early on in life, where later on in life you can reap those rewards and your family can as well. So when you're no longer here, they get generational wealth because of what you built. I think that is also a part of what I'm striving for, and also I think that's a part of what the holiday represents, is the fact that you now have an opportunity to do the exact same thing for your family as everybody else is doing for theirs.
Absolutely. One of my mentors put it going from chains to philanthropy. And I love that I see so many of us in positions to give back like you. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing that beautiful story.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for your time. I appreciate your energy, and thank you guys. MyOutDesk has been phenomenal for me, and I'm pretty sure it will continue to be. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us where we can find you if someone wants to connect with you?
The website is anagooflasvegas.com. And then we have another website, qualityleadstoday.com. So our
Okay.
contact information is directly on there.
Tabrion, thank you so much for sharing that and joining us in the studio today. It has been a pleasure to get to know you, to learn more about you, and we wish you success on your journey.
Thank you. I wish you success as well.